Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Maisha and today I'm going to be doing a top 10 life-changing. Well, these are the top 10 books that changed my life. Nonfiction, kind of self-help. Not all of these are, I guess all of these are nonfiction self-help type of books. I know a lot of people are starting the new year. Happy New Year, by the way. Happy 2025. A lot of people are starting the new year and they're doing 75 hard, where you have to read nonfiction, or you just want to read nonfiction. Maybe you feel like you're struggling in life. Maybe you're feeling like there's things that you don't know. Maybe you're a young adult. You're just getting into the world and you're like, what is it that I don't know? And I definitely went through that at one point in life. And so I found myself really into self-help. I literally spent like so many years reading every single book that I could get. And over time, I learned a lot, honestly, from books. I know some people are like, oh, you just gotta live. But I think you can definitely learn from other people's experiences. And there are people who study these things all the time and really try to figure out what is it that people need to know in order to be successful and to just enjoy life. So this is not just about success. It's not crazy David Goggins things. Like, these are like, I try to pick books that are kind of all parts of just being a happy, successful person in yourself, and like really feeling good about life, not just necessarily about getting money and not just necessarily about, getting things or whatever the case may be, but just like being happy, right? Like, how do you create a life where you feel like you're in control of life and life is not hurting you? And, I've definitely been through a lot of stuff. I know you've probably been through a lot of stuff. Whether it's grief, whether it's, money problems, whatever the case may be, like, I've went through all of that. And like, not saying that I'm in the best position that I could be, because like, I know that this is a journey and that like one day, is not the determining of your life. Like, you have to go through the journey of life, so you'll never just like get to a place. But if you're looking for the path, basically, these are the top 10 books that will definitely get you on that path. First, and these are not in order, but I'm going through the ones that I don't physically have first, and then I'm going to go through the ones that I have physically, so no order. The Secret by Rhonda Rhimes. You've heard of it. You've heard of it before. This is about the law of attraction. Now, caveat, do I believe in the law of attraction? Yes, in the way of, it's a part of the human experience, right? We all day, every day say, oh, I was just thinking about that and that happened. Oh, I just saw that on the TV and now I'm seeing it here, or whatever the case may be. That is just the human experience, where the law of attraction is just a fact, right? Just like gravity, it is a fact. Do I believe that you're calling in bad things to your life? Like, every bad thing that has happened to you is what you've called in, or every good thing that's happened to you is what you've called in? No, not necessarily, because I do believe in a higher power, and I do believe in a sovereign higher power. So I don't believe for one second that like, every bad thing that happens to you is like law of attraction or whatever. But I definitely think that you should understand this, right? Because like, it just is a fact, right? Like, that you will experience things multiple times, and a lot of times the first experience that you have with things is in your mind. So that's a really good one to read on audiobook. That's why I don't have that book physically. The second book is gonna be How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book is just good. I network. The way in which my career is going right now is like, I'm heavily networking. Like, that is the bulk of my job for the most part. And this is just a book that you should read. If you are into networking, which I believe networking is very important, because, people are always going to run your life in some type of way. So you have to know how to identify with people. Have to know how to work with people, and you have to know how to get people to like you. I'm sorry, you're just going to get so many more things in life if people like you. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how capable you are. if you cannot get people to like you, you cannot get a lot of things in life, honestly. Sometimes people will take the person that they like over the person who's better for the job, just because you got to work with this person, you got to see this person every day. People like to be around people that they like to be around. And this book will teach you how to be a person that people like to be around. And, you know, whether you actually do all of these things or not, it'll be in the back of your head a lot. And a lot of these things that you'll learn from this book are important. And I use these things every single day. One of the things that in this book that I use all the time is they talk about how people like to hear the sound of their own voice, and people like to hear the sound of their own name. And so I make sure that when I'm meeting people for the first time, I ask them a ton of questions. I just keep them going, because they'll perceive the conversation as like, oh, like this was a great conversation, because the whole time they were just listening to themselves. Like, and for you, you get to know a lot more about them, and therefore you get to kind of see what type of a person that they are, and it'll help you evaluate whether you want to do a lot more business with that person, or, you know, whether you want to, you know, be in a relationship with that person of any sort. So I really like that book. Next is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. This book is about vulnerability. Everybody got to read it. First of all, I really enjoyed Brené Brown. I think she went to U of H. So shout out to her, go Cougs. She knows everything about vulnerability. And when I tell you, please read this book, please understand the role that vulnerability plays in an adult's life. It is so important. I've met so many people who are just, their biggest fear in life, and you can tell, is vulnerability. Vulnerability will get you so far in life if you feel like it's going to be uncomfortable, but once you get to the point where you make that uncomfortableness comfortable, you'll just get so much farther in life. Like, you just get that shame, that embarrassment of being yourself and being vulnerable out of the way. And that way you're not teaching kids that. That way you're not showing others that it's embarrassing to be yourself and to have faults and to make mistakes and to be vulnerable. I love that book. Next book is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. This is a short read. This one you can literally, it's on YouTube. Like, it's very, very short. It's like 4 hours, I think. And it's good. It's good. It makes you put things into perspective. I actually got my mom to listen to this book, and she called me back and she was like, yep. She's like, yep, I believe it. I believe the things that this book is saying. This book basically talks about just this idea that there is a source out there that doesn't want you to be successful, which we all somewhat believe, that there is something out there that wants you to be successful, and there's something out there that doesn't want you to be successful. And this talks about how do you maneuver through the obstacle of something out there that wants you to be unsuccessful. And it gives you the tools, and it really puts names to these ideas that we kind of see every day, but we might not necessarily, understand the role that it plays. So it talks about like distraction and the role that distraction plays in you not being able to be your best self or live your best life. And it's really interesting. Next is A Return to Love. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th book. A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. This book makes me feel good. It just does. This is a Christian-based book, so this book talks about God a lot, and it talks about the Bible a lot. And it's just really good. It's really good. I don't know what else to say. You just got to read it. It's definitely going to have your mind open to things like miracles, to things like gratefulness, to things like, how does good things happen to you and how do you interpret those good things? I just really love this book. I love to read pretty much all these books yearly, but this is one that I will definitely revisit pretty much yearly for the rest of my life. Really love that book. The 6th book is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Now, there's another book called The Atomic Habit, and I've read that one too. This one I believe is better. And this one I personally like a lot more because this book is more about, they give like more, to me, real life examples of like habits as systems and habits as something that's almost buried into your brain. So they talk about in this book this idea that like a habit is almost, it's like your body working on autopilot. There's a portion of this book that talks about a patient who has lost all of their memories, and they get up and walk around their neighborhood like they know where they're going. And they talk about, because it was like the habit, like that person every single day would go and walk around the neighborhood and just like still kind of knew their way around just because their body knew what to do, even though they lost all memory. And it's really, really interesting. This just makes you believe, again, which we all should believe, this idea that like habits can get ingrained in you and they can be something like second nature. It's just like waking up and brushing your teeth. It's just like waking up and checking your phone. Like you've created a habit and you can create better habits in the future. So that one. Now the last 4 books I have physically. So this one, The Path of Emotions by Dr. Cynthia Andrews. I just got this randomly at a thrift store one day and I enjoyed this book. I loved it. This book talks about emotions and the energy field of like your heart and how like your emotions literally emote outside of your body. And if you've ever heard people talk about this idea of somebody having a big presence, it's actually true, because like your aura goes out farther than you would think. I think they said almost like 5 feet from all sides your aura can go out. And so this book just talks about all types of things when it comes to emotions, when it comes to energy fields, and how you use these things, how you become an emotional alchemist, right? How do you take discouragement? How do you take fear? How do you take sadness and turn it into something very, very useful in life? And what are some methods to do that? And it just makes you feel very seen. I think being a emotionally intelligent person gives you the biggest leg up on life. Like, to be emotionally intelligent, to control your emotions, to understand how emotions make other people feel, to be able to feel things in a way that you can actually express it verbally so that other people feel seen, because they're like, oh, I couldn't even put words to how I was feeling. I'm sorry, better than any self-help book you can find, okay? You have to get, control of your emotions. So I love this book. This is a really good one. I would love to see if this is on audiobook, because it might be pretty, some of it is kind of sciencey, so maybe not, but I don't know if you want to sit there and read a book about emotions like that, but if they have it on audiobook too, that would be very interesting, or if she wrote some more. Next book. I haven't talked about finances this entire time. I've read a lot of finances books. I've read a lot of books on budgeting. I've read a lot of books on investing. This one right here, that's all you need. This is called Wealth Without Risk. It's actually hard to find because this is an old book. And some of these things in this book, and it's by Charles J. Givens. It's a very old book. It's a thick one. And it might actually be a little difficult to find the original copy, because I think that they changed it a little bit and they updated it. This is an updated version, but even the updated version is pretty old, I'm sure. But it's just good. It's just good. If you are a new adult, please read this book. You can read until you blue in the face about budgeting, but at the end of the day, there's just so much more that goes into finances, into investing. Now, I think this book is to turn you into a slightly above average middle class person who you have, right? This is not going to turn you into Bill Gates. This was not written for the Bill Gates people, but this is built for people who just have a really strong understanding of finance at the regular upper middle class level. And I think that that's really important for us, because at the end of the day, you can read about Bill Gates all day long, but at the end of the day, most of us ain't ever gonna have Bill Gates money. This one's really good. It talks about taxes, it talks about insurance, it talks about just like all of these subjects that are really hard to kind of put your mind around when you first become an adult, and they break it down into strategies. And so they talk about like, okay, if you're single, this is the amount of insurance you should have, and this is why you should have more insurance. I mean, it's just really good. It's a big book and it might take you a while. They talk about stocks, but when I tell you, you will be so knowledgeable. People will come to you and ask you things about money because you get it. Get this book. Next book, Deep Work by Cal Newport, and it talks about it's rules for focused success in a distracted world. It's a really short book. Really, I think I read this in like one day. I love it. This basically talks about putting your doggone phone down and actually studying, actually doing something. And I would even take this beyond studying and saying, like, even if you have a hobby, go sit down and do your hobby for 2 hours a day and you'll get good at it. Like, it just really introduces you to the idea that we need a distraction-free world in order to get things done, and you need a couple of hours of distraction-free time in order to get things done. And I really like it. So this one is number 9 or number 2. I don't know if I was counting down or up. And lastly, this right here, this is The Power of Imagination by Neville Goddard. And it's just a collection of Neville Goddard's writing. It is a huge one again. And I've annotated the lights out of this book, okay? This book is about manifestation. It's about taking life, into your own hands. It's about this idea that you are in so much more control of your life than you believe yourself to be, and that great things can happen to you if you believe those things. And it ties it into the Bible, and because there's this whole thing about like, oh, if you believe in manifestation, then you don't believe in God or whatever. I personally believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe that power is sovereign. I believe that power does things that we don't quite understand and that are out of our control. But I also think that it lets us have some sort of power over our lives as well, and that we have a sense of autonomy as well, and that we can make decisions about our path as well. And this book is just so good. I believe a lot of the stuff in this book. Now, like I said, I don't believe that you are in control of every single thing that happens to you at all, and I think that's a good thing, because a lot of times we'll get even better things in life than what we expected to get. But I do think that you should expect great things. And this book just tells you to expect great things. And like I said, it ties it into the Bible. If you are Christian or if you believe in God, whatever religion that you are, you will not feel bad for reading this book, okay? It's not no crazy woo-woo out of there thing. It's just really good, and you gotta give it time. You gotta be prepared for it, but I love this book. So those are my top 10. If you are gonna read 10 books, 10 nonfiction books, 10 self-help books, for this new year that, you know, are going to get you into the right mindset, that are going to put you on the right path, that are going to make you excited. Like, there is nothing worse than reading a book, no shade to the books, that just keeps telling you why life is not going well for you and telling you everything that you're doing wrong in life. Like, none of these books are telling you, you know, oh, you're on the wrong path because of this, because of that. It just simply tells you, hey, this is how you can get to the places where you want to get, which I think is important, because we don't want to beat ourselves up in the name of self-help. We actually want to, you know, just start from where we are and just get better. So these are my, you know, top 10. If you agree with some of these, let me know. Thank you for watching. Bye.